Good morning.
Good morning.
Away.
Today.
It's Saturday, so we are well and truly through the hump week. It's it should be all downhill from here. How good is that? I hope everyone had an awesome Friday. I had a pretty reasonable Friday. I didn't enjoy my surf though. It was really crappy surf yesterday. Well, not crappy surf, but really lots of water movement and probably a bad attitude went with it. I actually got to the point where I went, I've just got to paddle myself out. I've just got to get out of the water because I'm just not enjoying it. So the golden rule is to go out there and enjoy it and do the hard work elsewhere.
Yeah, have fun, Clayton says.
Have fun. And I think that is absolutely the perfect analogy for it all, is just go out there and have fun while you're in the water.
Yeah, and you don't want to ruin your sacred thing by just doing the grind and then like you get a memory hangover.
Absolutely. And I was on the new board, so I don't want to taint the new board with a bad attitude either.
My new board, I'm looking at it. So it's hanging in the van. It's got its new fins on. It's waxed. Steve waxed it for me. But it still hasn't had a maiden voyage because the northerly's been pumping and it's been fast.
And what's the setup on it?
I've got a twin fin with a trailer set up. So should be fast as shit.
She pulled the fins out and went, what the fuck? These are massive.
I was like, these are monstrous, but
you got two and a little one.
But that should be super fun.
Nice. So last night or yesterday afternoon, we were talking Code of the Extraordinary Mind on our Teams Engineered podcast. And maybe it's a good day to float a couple of ideas from that. And, if people want more, they can go back and find that podcast. When's it going to be published? It'll be published in a few weeks, or you can get early access on our, on your Facebook group.
Yeah, so if you want early access, we can just jump into Hire Train Lead. So if you just search in your search bar Hire Train Lead and find the group, you can jump in there. Early access, that's where all of our podcasts go live, so we can chat to people as well while we're live. But the new podcast team is getting, they're having some fun putting together the assets for us, Kyle. So, I think our first 3 episodes will launch next Friday.
Yeehaw. Very, very exciting for us as well.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it. There's some good episodes there. There's some old episodes there. Things like ones that we recorded because we were only doing the lives that have never been produced. So Charlotte was going through them. She's like, oh my God, this one. Oh my God, that one. So I'm excited to get those out.
I'll probably need a reminder of what they were to maybe even remember what we...
The team will look after you because they'll have show notes. We've got captions. We've got videograms. You name it. The team's on it.
It's really, really funny because I was talking with Tash about this, and she said, "So what'd you talk about today?" I don't know. It just sort of came to me in the moment, and now it's out. And I think sort of the mastery side of things, as you start to use that innate skill and the curiosity to just learn, you don't necessarily, it's not necessarily recallable right on cue, but when the moment comes, it all just comes out.
Yeah, it's so true. And when you hit flow state as well, they say often in flow state you can't remember everything. And I had this, my most vivid memory of that is I was teaching a section of the business accelerator I teach in Bali for ILAC.
Yep.
So I wasn't facilitating the whole 2 weeks. I was just doing a couple of pieces. So I was doing some of my own content. And I came off and there was people crying and they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like that bit there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just got no idea.
I didn't mean to make you cry.
I'm like, I said to Shane, I said, I'm going to need that video. Like, I have no idea. He's like, wow, you were just on today. I was like, I know that I went off script because I was teaching Identify Your Identity, and someone had asked a question, and it sent me down on something. And he's like, I've just never seen you talk that. I haven't ever heard you talk about that stuff, because usually I'm there, I'm running the curriculum of the program. So, and
Yep.
the program's really tight. So there's not much space in the day. So I usually have to stick pretty tight to the program and pretty tight to the outcomes that need to be done.
Yep.
So to be able to go off script that day, I think there's a couple of lessons in that, I think, in terms of not making sure that you've got some space to go off script and not always keep your bumpers on. Making sure that you tap into that flow, and also have I nearly said the nimbility, the agility, the nimbility, a new word, the agility to read the room or the people that you're with and adjust to serve them. But that's not the topic of today. Although lead, we're moving into, this is lead week, I suppose.
This is lead week, and so it kind of does, and reading the room and all of that stuff is being a leader, and being able to present your concepts and also be agile, like you say, and no matter how big that group is, being able to present the way they're going to receive it.
Meet them where they're at, and give them what they need, rather than like just sticking to something because it's like the curriculum, or because you've decided that's the outcome you want to get. Being able to actually curate it to what they need, and where they're at.
Absolutely. So when we just before we jumped on live, we were talking about lead week, and there was something we were going to talk about from our podcast last night, but I've forgotten.
Yes. So because it was lead week, and we were talking about the bonus point being that we know we've told everyone they need to share stuff from their books. Like that's they learn by reading, and they're supposed to lead by sharing something from the book, that the 10 pages that they've read. But what we'd like to do as your 5 bonus points is you need to share a paragraph into the chat of the group, or below this recording, wherever you're watching the stream, a paragraph of what you've learned and how you're going to apply it from the book that you're reading right now. But for 5 extra bonus points, so to get 10 bonus points, record it can be just a 1-minute video, and it can just be one thing that you want to teach somebody else that's come from the book that you're reading. So then that led us on to, well, if people are going to teach stuff and like they're learning from their books and being able to step up, let's pull out an extract from the podcast yesterday, which comes from the Code of the Extraordinary Mind, about upgrading our software and hardware. So upgrading our models of reality and our systems for living. So do you want to, if you haven't watched the podcast, do you want to drop in on what our hardware and software is?
It could be a little dangerous. We might go off on a real big long tangent, but let's try and keep it really, really tight. So our hardware and software is, we can, as a computer, you can always upgrade your computer, and as you grow in yourself, and as you grow in your knowledge and skills and everything else, what you want to do is you want to be able to elevate your consciousness. And so in Vision's book, he talks about 4 levels of consciousness, and Michael Beckwith talks about the 4 levels as well. And we also talked about Michelle's mindset models, where Michelle talks about 5. So
5 levels of mindset.
As you to start, right at the bottom, you're either a victim or a sufferer, and as a victim or a sufferer, everything happens to you. And the easiest thing you can do to upgrade yourself and to upgrade into the next level of consciousness is to decide that that's not the case, that you have control of it.
Yeah. That can really break some people's brains though. Like if they're in sufferer victim mode, the concept of I can choose can seem so far removed from them. And so the one thing I'd say, that the key thing that you can do is, like they say, you can choose happiness. And I have the power quote, life is a choice, it is what you choose. You can choose when you get out of bed the thing that you do first, and you can choose the thought pattern you're going to have, and you can actually tell your thoughts to fuck off.
Yep.
You can go,
Yep.
that doesn't serve me right now. I'm choosing to think a better thought. It takes practice, but as we discussed yesterday, the number one thing to be able to move your mindset is gratitude. So really just taking a moment to be grateful for what you do have. And if you're in the wallow and everything's happening to you, just think about somebody that's either, you know, I use India because they've been just particularly fucked during COVID. And they're overpopulated and they don't have a lot of sanitization at the moment. And like, if you just drop yourself into the middle of an Indian city and just think about everything you've got around you in that morning when you first wake up and put your feet on the ground that somebody else doesn't.
Yep.
Australia.
Like, well,
And,
you were speaking to someone I knew the other day, and she said that because the housing market's really tight here, she's living in a tent. She used to live in Byron.
Yep.
Well, and I was worrying about trying to put in a pool.
Oh yeah, and Steve was having a whinge about putting in his pool.
Oh, no, not having. I was like, I wonder if I can get it in by Christmas. You know, like putting in a pool and then talking to someone who's worrying about where they want to live with their child.
Yeah,
puts it in perspective.
Put it in perspective. Oh, yeah, the kids need a pool by Christmas, and then this lady's like, I need a house. I live in a tent with my kid. Yeah,
absolutely. So, and you're right that daily gratitude. Just find something that you can be happy about, or that brought you a little bit of joy. Just pay attention to it, and that's the easiest way to get moving on upgrading your software.
Yeah, and just think about it logically. Like yesterday, we talked about you probably aren't running a laptop with Windows 95 on it. So if we thought about that's an upgrade of software. I don't know why I got called, but I think the hardware upgrade was like going from the Sony CyberShot 1 megapixel camera. Like, how stoked were we when we got a Sony CyberShot 1 megapixel?
When we had a digital camera.
I think it cost me $3,000 from Harvey Norman, and I was like so fucking stoked. Now I'm shooting with a 4K. Like, oh, it's even Sony. Oh yeah, cool. Sticking with the Sonys. My new one.
Sticking with the Sony.
And it's just made my life so much easier compared to my massive big Canon as well. That was even an upgrade from 2 years ago, the Canon to this. But I think we don't necessarily get taught, like we get taught that we go to school and that, but they don't actually teach you that you can choose your learning to serve your purposes, and that you can constantly learn, and that you don't need to learn to do tests. Because I think sometimes, I don't know, it might be different now with school, but I just don't ever remember being taught that lifelong learning and that I can continue learning for stuff that's interesting to me and that helps build my reality. It's like, you know, it's a means to an end. Like, do the school, get the grade to go to uni, or go to school, get the grade to go to trade. But never was it like, go to school, learn the shit you love, get interested in it, nail it, go learn some more cool shit, upgrade your life.
And just keep following it.
That didn't seem to translate to me.
No, it
like
doesn't.
you say that I'm like a full learning junkie, and as you know, like I've traveled the world, like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars going to seminars and that. Like, my number one, besides going surfing, don't get me wrong, but we were talking about this the other day, my number one holiday that I'm talking about going on is going to Mind Valley and going and doing a month-long worth of university, going to class every day. Like, I fucking geek out. I'm like, I just want to go to class. And we do it in super cool locations, and then we party in coliseums and have, like, rent out a castle and have cacao ceremonies and do super cool shit. Skinny dip with Wim Hof. But I geek out on the learning. Like, I get so excited. Like, I'm always at the very front of the class, on the right hand side of the stage. They know me as the note taker girl. Everyone wants to buy my notes. Like, I just get so excited. But I don't think we're taught, like, that you can get excited about learning the stuff that you like and then how to actually apply it. Like, you don't learn it just to do a test.
Yep. Yeah, we don't seem to instill that in either our kids or even with our teams. We don't seem to instill that you can just follow your curiosity and learn just for the sake of learning.
Yeah, but also, there seems to be a lack between real life application.
Yeah.
But still, it's kind of like we learn it to do the test to prove that we've got the ability, but often there's not that real life integration immediately. So what do you find with your students, like, Kyle? Like, obviously they're doing things and they want to have the proficiency, but is it because they might need it in the future, or they just need the certificate to be on site? Like, is it because they're curious and they're like, oh yeah, when I go to site next week, I'm going to try and do this?
There's not a lot of, well, most of them come to us because they need to do it. There's not a lot that actually start the course out of curiosity. Once they've gotten into it, the way we structure the way the courses work, and particularly the practical elements, we sort of encourage the curiosity part and encourage them to play, just experiment with it. And when they say, particularly when a student says, I'm going to do this, is this going to work? I don't know, try it, see what happens.
Give it a go.
And give it a go. You're safe. You're in a safe environment. You can't hurt anyone. You can't hurt yourself. You can't break anything. Not that that's a challenge to try and break the gear, but we've deliberately set the systems up so that for the better part, there's nothing they can do where they can either hurt themselves or damage the equipment. So just try it out, guys. See what happens. And we get lots of laughs out of that, and we're trying to embed the fun and the curiosity in the learning process. But I think outside of that safe space, I don't think many of them realise that, and most of them don't have the support to be able to go to work and experiment. In a breakdown, well, I think this might be the problem. Let's try this. For the better part, unless they can 100% go, yes, this is definitely it. And we're going to fix it. And we're going to be up and going again. They haven't got the space or the safety to be able to be curious and playful.
Yeah. For some reason, that makes me think of Google's 80-20 and the fact that they give a day a week to work on a project they're curious of.
Yep.
And the fact that Gmail was one of the results of that curiosity and someone's one day a week. Obviously, it's made some massive failures. I was trying to think. There was one that I read the other day. There's like a graveyard for the ideas, and there was like one that was classed as an epic fail, but the learnings from it led to something like crazy, like another app that was just next level. But without the massive fail, they wouldn't have made that connection to go to the next thing. So without and the lesson in failing forward, like if you didn't have that and didn't have the lessons, then you wouldn't have got that result. So I think the key thing that I'd like to leave people with is really knowing that you can upgrade your hardware and software. So your hardware, if you think of that about your learning and your mindset, and like knowing that you can choose what you learn, knowing that you don't, it's not finite, and that you can go seeking other ways, and learning and not getting a result is also learning. And then your software, your upgrade of that is your habits, behaviors, and routines that support that. So that's your systems for living. So you change your mindset, you change your belief patterns, you change your level of knowledge, and then you use your habits, behaviors, and routines to set up and to step up and to start integrating and to actually pushing their boundaries and pushing forward and becoming that next level of person that you want to be.
Yep. And of course, most importantly, if this sounded interesting, go and find our full podcast. We spoke for about an hour on all of this stuff. It was pretty cool fun to talk about. I think we will have to revisit it at some stage. But also don't forget the challenge for today, or for this weekend. We're up for 10 points. We've got 10 points on offer for this weekend. So if you're bold enough to put a video up of your learnings this week, it's worth 10 points. Otherwise, put up what your learnings are and how you're going to implement it as a comment in the chat wherever you're watching us.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Kyle, you go off and have an amazing Saturday, and I'll see you for your birthday bright and early tomorrow morning.
Birthday chat tomorrow morning.
Birthday chat tomorrow morning. Yeehaw.
Have an amazing day, everyone.